Hi guys, I hope that you're all staying safe and well. I thought I would take the opportunity to share with you my 12 hacks to reducing your food waste and to making your meals stretch a bit further. Now this is a subject that I am quite passionate about. It's something that I've done for a very long time, but I thought now would be a great chance and a great time to actually share these little tips and tricks that I do to make our food stretch a little bit further and to most importantly reduce our food waste, because it's something that I'm really mindful of and it really does bother me if I ever have to chuck anything away. I'm terrible. But yeah, let's get on to it. Now my first tip is a very simple one really, and that is to meal plan and write yourself a shopping list before you go. Now when you meal plan, I would always start by shopping in my own home. So that means going into my fridge and freezer and seeing things that I need to use up. Say for example, if I've got some chicken in the freezer or some mince in the freezer, something like that, then I will plan a meal around that to make sure that I'm using that up first. It'll also stop you from rebuying things that you've got. I mean, we're all sometimes a little bit guilty of buying too many tins of tomatoes or something stupid like that and having them in the cupboard. But if you always start by shopping at home, that's a good place to start. My next tip is that when you are unloading your shopping, it would be to go through the expiry dates on the things that you've bought, such as meat, and freeze it if it's not going to last until the day that you've planned it for. If you can rejig around your recipes to make it work where you don't need to freeze it, then great, then obviously do that. Just make sure you check it first, because the worst thing that can happen really is to get to the day that you're supposed to be having, let's just say, I don't know, a chicken dish. You open the chicken and it's gone off. That's so frustrating. So as soon as you get home, check the dates, just do it straight away. If it needs freezing, put it in the freezer. My third tip is if you make a large portion of something, maybe something like a chili, a spaghetti bolognese, something like that, a family dish. Only dish yourself up a small portion, like a normal recommended portion size. Don't just chuck it all on your plate because it's all there to use up. We often do this with a curry and I think, why have I put that on my plate? I can never finish it. Do a small portion. If you finish it and you're still hungry, great, dish up have some seconds. But if you're not, then freeze it or pop it in the fridge for lunch and then you've got another meal out of it. Instead of just trying to overfeed yourself all the time because you want to use up what you've cooked, just use it in your favour. You know, you've done yourself a lunch for the next day, or if you don't fancy it the next day, pop it in the freezer and you've got a dinner for next week. Number 4 is to put your fresh herbs that you're not using in some oil. If you chop them and put them in some oil, you can freeze them. Yes, please. Sorry, I've got Leo just here with me. This is something that I do a lot of the time with basil. We often make pesto at home so that we can make it dairy free. Yes, for Leo, sorry. But we never ever get through a whole bunch of basil and it ends up going bad. So I will make one portion of pesto, which will normally last me around about a week, and then I will chop the rest of it. I'll make an Andy, okay. Then I'll pop the rest of it in some olive oil, I'll chop it finely and pop it maybe into a little ice cube tray or into a little pot, pop it in the freezer. When you're ready to use it, you can just defrost it and whiz it straight up or pop it into a recipe. My next few tips are actually in regards to bread and bakery goods. My number 5 tip would be to freeze your bread. Literally bring it home from the shops and freeze it. We don't really have sandwiches as such. We all just have them toasted or we're having toast. So you can literally just take them out frozen and pop them in the toaster and they come out perfect. You can also do this. Brioche buns work really well. So if we're ever having burgers and we buy a pack of 4, obviously there's only 2 adults in this house that can have the brioche. We will freeze the other 2 so that we can have them the following week. You can do this with crumpets, hot cross buns, anything like that freezes really well. My next tip would be to use your stale bread or the ends of your bread for breadcrumbs. This is what I never buy breadcrumbs. This is what I always do. So I just literally stick my bread into either a food processor or a blender and whiz it up and it comes out perfect. My next tip would be to make garlic bread out of the ends of your loaves. So obviously you've got 1 loaf, you'll have 2 ends. We typically go through 1 loaf of bread in a week, so there'll be 2 ends to use up, which means myself and my husband can bulk up one of our meals with a portion of garlic bread each. I literally do this by spreading the ends of the bread with butter, add some chopped garlic or you mash it all up, the garlic, and some parsley. I only use dried because I never really have fresh parsley in. and then I put it into a pan with a little bit of butter in, do it either side. You'll never buy garlic bread again once you've done this. We always do it, and it comes in really handy with Leo because obviously he needs to have wheat-free and dairy-free garlic bread. Oh, tops, yeah. Obviously, we don't buy a whole baguette just for him to have a little portion of garlic bread. It just seems a bit silly, and normally there's so many chemicals in them when you read the back of the ingredients. So yeah, it's a much better way to do it, and obviously you're using up the ends of the loaves that normally we would chuck away. Next tip is if you have got wrinkly veg in your fridge, don't chuck it away, just batch it up into some nice homemade soup or a sauce, like a hidden veg pasta sauce, and either freeze it or pop it in the fridge if you want to use it within the next couple of days. My next tip is to never throw away a overripe banana. Now, overripe bananas never really happen in this household because we tend to eat probably more bananas than a bunch of apes. Honestly, that we go through so many, like about 2 kilos a week at least. But when we do come across an overripe banana on a very rare occasion, we never throw it away. You can either bake with it, like a banana bread, always amazing. Or if you're not ready to use it straight away, just peel it, chop it up and pop it in the freezer. It goes perfect into smoothies. This one, please. You can also make a really good like banana ice cream with it. The Joe Wicks one, the protein one, is amazing. I'm absolutely addicted to it at the moment. So a lot of our bananas are going that way at the moment, but they're not quite overripe. But yeah, never ever throw away an overripe banana. My next tip is to bulk up your mincemeat recipes if you are a meat eater with lentils. Now, we are trying to cut down on red meats anyway, so this is something I like to do. I will buy one fairly small pack of mince. I will then cut that into thirds. I will freeze 2 of the thirds and I will keep like 1/3 out. And then when I'm making like a spaghetti bolognese, a chili con carne, anything like that, I will use a pack of ready lentils. Or you could also use red split lentils. Okay, darling. Yeah, and it'll bulk out the recipe. Honestly, when you've simmered this down for about 20 minutes, you wouldn't even know. My husband is a big meat eater and he has never noticed. For my next tip, if you need to make one portion of something like chicken stretched between your family, if you cook it and shred it, you can mix it into a pasta dish and no one will even notice. And for my 12th and final tip, you can also use potato to bulk up a recipe such as a pie. I often do this in my chicken and leek pie. Yes. We always use leftover chicken from our chicken roasts in our chicken pie just because we prefer it. And I will always bulk up this recipe with a white potato and obviously plenty of leeks as well. But it just tastes really nice and we don't have to make mashed potato then. It's kind of a one pot dish if you like. Yeah, and it works really well. Now, if you like this video and you like this kind of thing, please let me know in the comments down below. And I'd love it if you'd stick around and subscribe. Bye, guys.